Hello, guys and gals. This is part 11 of our reading of Leaves of Gold. And Leaves of Gold is, let me highlight it. Leaves of Gold is an anthology of prayers, memorable phrases, inspirational verse, and prose from the best authors of the world, both ancient and modern, edited by Clyde Francis Lytle. And as you can see on your screen, this is the copyright information, revised edition, 12th printing, 1964, copyright 1938, by Evan S. Coslet. Revised 1948 by Donald G. Remley, copyright 1948 by A.C. and D.G. Remley, and published by the Coslet Publishing Company out of Williamsport, Pennsylvania, printed and bound in the United States of America. So, let's continue with where we left off. We are to education, I believe, which is part 11. So, anyways, what we have here is, let's see. Education. Influence. James A. Garfield said that a log with a student. Wait. Oh, sorry. Influence. James A. Garfield said that a log with a student on one end and Mark Hopkins, his old teacher, on the other end was his ideal college. The point in it all is that personal contact and direct interest in that individual student by an instructor of lofty character is the main thing in any institution of learning. That is by F.S. Groner. Truth. Nobody wants mathematics from a Methodist viewpoint, nor physics from a Presbyterian doctrine, nor chemistry as a congregational subject, nor ethics from an Episcopalian angle, nor dogma mixed with science, nor, denominationalism taught, but with its chief and eternal concern with truth. The church is becoming free intellectually and spiritually through truth, wherever discovered. That is by Winifred Willard. Now we have something here called The Thinker. Back of the beating hammer by which the steel is wrought, back of the workshop's clamor, the seeker may find the thought that is ever master of iron and steam and steel, that rises above disaster and tramples it under heel. Might of the roaring boiler, fierce of the engine's thrust, strength of the sweating toiler, greatly in these we trust. But back of them stands the schemer, the thinker who drives things through. Book of the job, the dreamer, who's making the dream come true. That is by Benton Braley, copyright by Benton Braley, all rights reserved. Now we have inspiration. I read in Shakespeare of the majesty of the moral law, in Victor Hugo the sacredness of childhood, in Tennyson the ugliness of hypocrisy, in George Eliot the supremacy of duty, in Dickens the divinity of kindness, and in Ruskin the dignity of service. Irving teaches me the lesson of cheerfulness. Hawthorne shows me the hatefulness of sin. Longfellow gives me the soft, tranquil music of hope. Lowell makes us feel that we must give ourselves to our fellow men. Whittier sings to me of divine fatherhood and human brotherhood. These are Christian lessons. Who inspired them? Who put it into the heart of Martin Luther to nail those theses on the church door of Wittenberg? Who stirred and fired the soul of Savonarola? Who thrilled and electrified the soul of John Wesley? Jesus Christ is back of these all. That is by Powell. Now we have one here called Science. The goal of science is to describe the universe. The goal of religion is to find the most abundant life which man may possess in such a universe. That is by Curtly F. Mather. Religion, as regards its general influence over the mind of a nation, apart from the independence of religious education, forms a separate and very important element in the promotion of civilization. The Christian religion is in its nature highly favorable to the civilization alike of individuals and of states, and both intellectual and morally, the knowledge that it teaches is the highest and most elevating, and the principles that it enforces are the purest and most comprehensive. That is by George Harris. This one is called The Way to Freedom. Just a sec. Okay. The way to freedom. We are accustomed to say that the truth makes men free. It does nothing of the kind. It is the knowledge of the truth that creates freedom. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. We are now at the stage where the main emphasis should be laid on the dissemination of the truth. We need, as we have never needed, a campaign of education, with men and women going hither and thither in the great lecture campaign, weaving itself across the nation like a weaver's shuttle. We need a baptism of the right kind of literature, periodicals, and truth-carrying messages that will make the people of the nation and the rest of the world sit up and take notice. We have reached the place where we can no longer take the defensive. We must once again resume the offensive. The colleges, universities, and high schools, with the 3 million of young men and women in those institutions who are to take their place in the life of the nation. Just a few years hence are the laboratory where truth must be demonstrated. That's by Ernest H. Charrington. Stagnant truth. Do not mistake acquirement of mere knowledge for power. Like food, these things must be digested and assimilated to become life or force. Learning is not wisdom. Knowledge is not necessarily vital energy. The student who has to cram through a school or a college course, who has made himself merely a receptacle of the teacher's thoughts and ideas, is not educated. He has not gained much. He is a reservoir, not a fountain. Only one retains, the other gives forth. Unless his knowledge is converted into wisdom, into faculty, it will become stagnant like still water. That is by J.E. Dinger. Head versus heart. What I am concerned about is the fast-moving world in a time of crisis, both in foreign and domestic affairs, is not so much a program as a spirit of approach, not so much a mind as a heart. A program lives today and dies tomorrow. A mind, if it be open, may change with each day, but the spirit and the heart are as unchanging as the tide. That is by Owen D. Young. A builder builded a temple. He wrought with care and skill. Pillars and groins and arches were fashioned to meet his will. And men said when they saw its beauty, it shall never know decay. Great is thy skill, O builder. Thy fame shall endure for aye. A teacher builded a temple. She wrought the skill and care, formed each pillar with patience, laying each stone with prayer. None saw the unceasing effort. None knew of the marvelous plan, for the temple of the teacher builded was unseen by the eyes of man. Gone is the builder's temple, crumbled into the dust, pillar and groin and arches, food for consuming rust. But the temple the teacher builded shall endure while the ages roll, For the beautiful unseen people, for the beautiful unseen temple was a child's immortal soul. Now we have reflection. The man who thinks, reads, studies, and meditates has intelligence cut in his features, stamped on his brow, gleaming in his eye, and sooner or later the face tells the status or the condition of the soul, a reflection of the divinity within the man, as by record. Next page, we have. Okay. Let me just pause for a second. Now we have study. A beginning of days to many preachers would be to take possession of some new providence of literature, as Robert Hall did when after 60 he studied Italian to read Dante, as Arnold did when 2 years before his death he began Sanskrit, pleading that he, quote unquote, was not too old as Cato when he learned Greek. How many weary and starved congregations listen hopelessly to a dejected preacher who will never give them a word, a phrase, or a thought that they have not heard hundreds of times. That's by Beecher. Dedication. Let us now, with earnest hearts and with exalted faith and hope, solemnly consecrate this building to its high and holy purpose. May the youth of this community for generations to come gather in this place to receive instruction in knowledge and training in virtue. May they find here every condition necessary to a true and enlightened education. Especially may their teachers be examples of excellence in scholarship and character, seekers after goodness and truth, lovers of children, enthusiasts and adepts in the finest of all arts, the development and inspiration of human souls. May these rooms also be pervaded with an invigorating atmosphere of mental and moral life, and may no children pass from these schools to higher grades or to the outer world without having been made more intelligent, more thoughtful, more courageous, more virtuous, and in every way more capable of wise and just, of useful and noble living. To this end, may the blessing of God be upon children and parents, upon pupil and teacher, upon principal and superintendent, and upon everyone whose influence will be whose influence will in any degree affect the work of education as it shall be conducted within these walls. And that's by Scott. Anyway, experienced teachers. It is not enough to have books or to know where to read up for information when we want it. Practical wisdom for the purpose of life must be carried about with us and be ready for use at call. It is not enough that we have a fund laid up at home, but not a farthing in our pocket. We must carry about with us a store of the current coin of knowledge ready for exchange on all occasions. Even we are helpless when the opportunity for action occurs. The experience gathered from books is of the nature of learning. The experience gained from actual life is of the nature of wisdom, and a small store of the latter is worth vastly more than any stock of the former. That is by Smiles. The teacher. Lord, who am I to teach the way to little children day by day, so prone myself to go astray? I teach them knowledge, but I know how faint they flicker and how low the candles of my knowledge glow. I teach them power to will and do, but only now to learn anew my own great weakness through and through. I teach them love for all mankind and all God's creatures, but I find my love comes lagging far behind. Lord, if their guide I still must be, Oh, let the little children see the teacher leaning hard on thee. That is by Leslie um, Pinckney Hill. True repose. I have sought repose everywhere and have found it only in a little corner with a little book. That is by Sir Francis de Sales. Righteousness. President um, Righteousness. President McCosh, in his baccalaureate sermon, and to the graduating boys, I say to you, intending lawyers, see that ye yield to no crookedness, and to you, intended merchants, that ye be honorable in all your transactions. To you, intending journalists, that ye write only what ye know to be true, and you, ministers of the everlasting gospel, that your aim be to win souls to Christ, and to all that ye live soberly, righteously, and godly. Next, we have the art of living well. Public instruction, said Napoleon, should be the first object of government. All who meditated on the art of governing mankind, said Aristotle, have been convinced that the fate of empires depends upon the education of youth. Knowledge, said Daniel Webster, does not comprise all which is contained in the large term education. The feelings are to be disciplined, the passions are to be restrained, true and worthy motives are to be instilled, and pure morality inculcated under all circumstances. All this is comprised in education. Teach, said Seneca, the art of living well. Reason and experience both forbid us to expect, said Washington. The national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principles. Educate men without religion, said the Duke of Wellington, and you make of them but clever devils. Religion and liberty are inseparable, said Philip Schaff. True religion, said Burke, is the foundation of society. When that is once shaken by contempt, the whole fabric cannot be stable or lasting. That is from the Public Speaker's Library. Fundamentals. Manhood, not scholarship, is the first aim of education. That is by Ernest Thompson Seton. A national destiny. A nation's destiny is not in its learning or the amount of information it acquires. It's in the character. The heart of culture is the culture of the heart. The only way to form character is through religion. Find me another way and I'll accept it. The only system of education worthy of the name of system. Much less education is that one which literally and actually inculcates the eternal truth of morality, not only by teaching, but by hour example. I do not speak as a politician. I am speaking as an expert. I am not a theorist. The reason I dare speak is that every day, every hour, I am face to face with the real thing here, with the facts. That is by Talley. Shams. As one grows older, one is more impatient with subterfuges and shams generally. The increasingly desirous that the last run at least should be free from them. The world is apparently so confused that the least one can do for it is to keep one's mental integrity and to hold honesty to such poor wisdom as one has been able to garner on the way. That is by Jane Addams. Example. Education does not mean teaching people what they do not know. It means teaching them to behave as they do not behave. It is not teaching the youth the shapers of letters. It is not teaching the youth the shapes of letters and the tricks of numbers, and then leaving them to turn their arithmetic to roguery, and their literature to lust. It means On the contrary, training them into the perfect exercise and kingly continence of their bodies and souls. It is a painful, continual, and difficult work to be done by kindness, by watching, by warning, by precept, and by praise, but above all by example, as by John Ruskin. Human sculpture. A statue lies hid in a block of marble, and the art of statuary only clears away the superfluous matter and removes the rubbish. The figure is in the stone. The sculpture only finds it. What sculpture is to a block of marble, education is to a human soul. The philosopher, the saint, or the hero, the wise and the good, or the great man, very often lies hid and concealed in a plebeian, which a proper education might have disinterred and had brought to light. That is by Addison. Wisdom. A man should never be ashamed to own he has been in the wrong, which is but saying, in other words, that he is wiser today than he was yesterday. That is by Pope. I'm not sure which Pope. That just says Pope. Studying. I would say to every person, read with your pencil. Never pass a word or an allusion or a name you do not understand without marking it down for inquiry. Then go to your dictionary for the definition or explanation. Go to the encyclopedia for information as to biographical or historical allusions. Never read about any country without having a map before you. This kind of study will fix things in your minds, as no formal method of the school ever will. That's by Beecher. Read the best books first, or you may not have a chance to read them at all. That's by Thoreau. Safety first. The safety of our sons and daughters as they go out on the streets this very night is due to the influence of the preachers rather than the policemen and lawmakers. The safety of our nation includes all groups depends on Christian education. That's by Roger Babson. Now we have intellect. The intellect makes religion a science. The heart feels it as a life. To the one it is philosophy, to the other practice. The one cannot be its very nature. The one cannot by its very nature find what it seeks. The other cannot miss it. Mere intellect can only see the trailing garment of God as he passes by. Love lies in his bosom. Tasking himself beyond his power, man is lost when he seeks to think out the infinite. As a phantom is said to rise in the desert and beckon the traveler into its depths to perish. Speculation tempts the mind into the reckless wastes of the unknown, to lose itself in immensity. True wisdom comes in the end to feel with Socrates that the highest knowledge is to know that we know nothing. That is by Selected. Now we have one called church. What is the church? The church is man when his odd soul goes out. In reverence to the mystery that swathes him all about. When any living man in awe gropes Godward in his search, then in that hour that living man becomes the living church. There, though in wilderness or in waste, his soul is swept along, down naves of prayer, through aisles of praise, up altar stairs of song, and where man fronts the mystery with spirit bowed in prayer. There is the universal church. The church of God is there. From Songs of the Average Man by Sam Walter Foss, copyright 1907. It's really hard to read this right tiny print. Lothrop, Lee, and Shepherd Company, Incorporated, New York. Leaders. We are building many splendid churches in this country, but we are not providing leaders to run them. I would rather have a wooden church with a splendid parson than a splendid church with a wooden parson. That is by Drury. One-sided. I distrust the man of one book or of one class of books. A lawyer may get no direct aid from Tennyson, but you may more safely trust your case with him because the fact of reading such an author indicates that he covers more space in human thought. A physician cannot study human nature in Shakespeare without getting a conception of man helpful in his practice. Nor will a preacher be any the worse, but all the better for not confining himself to works of theology. The men who think and read in various directions are the better entitled to their opinion. Read variously, and you will find after a time that one of the chief delights of reading is substantiating what you find in one department of what you find in another. One thus follows the hidden thread which bind the creation into a unity. That's by T.T. Munger. Who is educated? Okay, so who is educated? A professor in Chicago is reported to have given the following test to his pupils. He told them they were not really educated unless they could say yes to all these questions. Has your education given you sympathy with all good causes and made you espouse them? Has it made you public spirited? Has it made you a brother to the weak? Have you learned how to make friends and to keep them? Do you know what it is to be a friend yourself? Can you look an honest man or a pure woman straight in the eye? Do you see anything to love in can you see anything to love in a little child? Will a lonely dog follow you down the street? Can you be high-minded and happy in the meaner drudgeries of life? Do you think washing dishes and hoeing corn just as compatible with high thinking as piano playing or golf? Are you good for anything to yourself? Can you be happy alone? Can you look out on the world and see anything but dollars and cents? Can you look into a mud puddle by the wayside and see anything in the puddle but mud? Can you look into the sky at night and see beyond the stars? Can your soul claim relationship with the Creator? And now we have, a great man is what he is because he was what he was. And now to a music teacher. You cannot practice for her every day. The knowledge that you give her will not stream on her young mind in one bright, blinding ray, but you can plant a dream. You can plant a dream in her young heart, a dream of excellence, whose light will gleam upon her pathway as the years depart. Your words can plant a dream. To sow a dream and see it spread and grow, to light a lamp and watch its brightness gleam. Here is a gift that is divine, I know, to give a child a dream. That is by Anna Campbell. And now we have insurance. Cultivate literature and useful knowledge for the purpose of qualifying the rising generation for patrons of good government, virtue, and happiness. That is by George Washington. And we are done with this, and we will move on to a chapter on faith when we return. Anyways, we've been reading Leaves of Gold. This has been part 11, and we were reading on education. Yes, education. Anyways, if you like this, this book was also edited by Clyde Francis Lytle. If you like this content, make sure you like and subscribe and ring the bell so you know when I upload. Also, if you support me in any way, if you want to join the Discord server, all the information will be in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.